As in other forms of art, we can choose the thickness of lines by using various tools and techniques. This allows greater freedom of expression. Perhaps you are more familiar with drawing and painting than with textile crafts, at least for now. By combining different tools, we can create surprising effects, which is rewarding both for ourselves and for those who appreciate our work. This way, you won't get bored. You'll diversify your skills and create compositions with consistency, rhythm, and accents. You can emphasize certain lines while pushing other elements into the background. The more you practice with your hands, the easier it becomes to learn something new, a new skill, a new craft. I'm not a painter yet. Once I have trained my hands to obey my brain, they'll very easy know how to handle a new tool. Patience and practice are key. After all, practice makes perfect. At first, it might seem like counting threads for embroidery is rigid and restricts our creative freedom, especially when compared to the freedom of a brush on paper. However, we are already familiar with this pixelated effect. It is not unusual to us. We have seen it in ancient Roman mosaics, a tradition that continued in church architecture and decoration within the Byzantine cultural space, as part of the heritage of the East Roman Empire. Speaking of the Romans, they built some of their cities based on a grid of streets, similar to the structure of threads in the fabric. These threads are called warp and weft, while the Romans' main streets were called the Cardo and Decumanus. The Cardo ran north to south, giving its name to the cardinal system, while the Decumanus defined the east-west direction. A city fortress was, of course, well protected by walls, just as our altizza, the piece of fabric for the shoulders, has reinforced borders. In a way, we can compare the altizza to a city, densely populated with embroidery motifs. Romanian women may not have known the layout of ancient Roman fortresses, but they were inspired by other intricate structures found in nature. One of the most familiar was the beehive, an essential part of our culture where beekeeping has been practiced since time immemorial. More precious than a diamond, the hexagon is a harmonious shape. It fits perfectly within a circle while maintaining a dynamic appearance, making it ideal for housing busy insects. This well-proportionate form also accommodates beautiful floral motifs with ease. So, instead of seeing this structure as a limitation, we can celebrate it as a helpful guide. Geometry is, in fact, the godmother of Romanian traditional shirts. Let's embroider together. I will show you step by step all the techniques you need. And I was able to make some progress because the journey by train it's quite long, which is good sometimes. If you complain about having slow trains, try to do something else for a change and invest this time into something useful for you. Here is the progress. I have worked on one of the pieces that are going to be the shoulder, umar it's called. The term comes from Latin, humerus. Umar, it's on the shoulder, to be placed on the shoulder. Here is going to be the neckline, which will be protected and gathered. But let's do the embroidery first. This is just one line on the edge of the fabric, from this pattern, and the rest of the pattern continues on the other piece of the fabric, equal size with this one, which is called altizza. Again, coming from Latin, but we are not sure what it means. That stays up. Alto, altizza, is this piece of fabric that is placed up on your shirt, upper arm, let's say. I mixed several techniques. If you look at the pattern and compare it with others from the same region of Vlașca, south of Bucharest, you would see that most of them are full of colors, beautiful shades of brown, all sorts of shades of pink, dark pink, dusty pink, magenta, dark red also. But this one, this pattern, is basically created with just one color. I used the discrete gradient, which I invented myself, and our producer kindly accepted to have it in mass production for us. But the gradient was invented in my kitchen in a pot, mixing different shades of red and fuchsia. Anyways, I'm sure it will not be boring, also because I have to alternate several embroidery techniques, and in the sunlight, in better light, they will all reflect the light, and the texture will become visible. And even if it's just one color, you're going to see the pattern. There are also metallic accents that I added a little bit, and I still have to add. I still have to add the sequins and the tail here in the middle of the bud, and they will help me. And from the basic functional stitches that I start with, I progressed, and I kept here different stages of the pattern, because I don't make it all at once, one bud and then move away. No. Although I'm not a machine, there is people that programmed the machines in order to perform the root of the thread in an optimal, efficient way. So it means as long as I have a human brain, I can work into creating an efficient pattern, and I do it right for me, for the way I like to work. Look, on the other half, for the other sleeve, let's say, for the other arm, I've kept just the beginning, just to show you how I started from here. This is an important guideline, because further I will continue with buds, and practically, if I do the first one right, I can hardly make any mistake, really. I just have 6 steps, 6 points, which means 12 threads of fabric in between. And this is how from here I evolve into here, creating also the contour, the line around it to define it, and then I fill in with smaller lines. Further I come to make these angled stitches, and further on I continue to add color and texture into the petals, and in the end I will add the metallic accent. Why am I doing this? It is more efficient to keep working the same small pattern. I mean, it's important to decompose a complex pattern into smaller steps, and this way you memorize it easily. You have to count just a few times a number of 8, 5, 5, 4, and somehow you don't need to carry a drawing with you when you work like this. I didn't finish the double little holes and the border lines because first of all, I don't know exactly where to stop. This will be dictated by the pattern itself. I'm going to make it flipped, mirrored, and I'm not sure yet how long I should go. On the other hand, it's important to prove you the way I work, to show you the way I'll be working. So I kept it unfinished to continue and film this all these techniques. You have to mirror the pattern, not necessarily the stitches itself. Before anything else, I make a basic feston stitch on the edge of the fabric, and then 6 threads underneath. I make these double little holes that I will further use in order to create connections with other pieces of fabric or prepare the lace-like finishings. So I'm preparing the fabric to be stronger here. I add thread and I prepare a certain distance. Right, so I can choose how big the steps are going to be. I will keep the end of the thread somewhere here, and later on I will hide it underneath, and I make a small step on cardo down and going four threads to the left at the same height is going to be a diagonal on the back. I will just hold it a little bit, and then another horizontal line on the front of the fabric will result in another diagonal on the back. And now I repeat. I'm using a cotton yarn, cotton perle, because I like the color, and it is enough resistant. It's a cotton perle number 8. I chose a Turkish producer because so often their shades match the Byzantine shades, of course, because the Ottoman culture, the Ottoman Empire was a multi-ethnic empire based a lot on the Greek, the Byzantine civilization found upon the arrival of the Turkish tribes, Turkic. So I continue with this. I use the needle number 24 as in JJ needles for the English fans, in JJ needles. But if I would use a needle from DMC, I would choose probably number 26. Their needles differ a little bit. It's a fine needle, that's what I want to say. It's a tapestry needle, so the point is not very sharp. I don't use a frame because the fabric has not been washed. It's quite stiff. It will soften up a lot and it will shrink after the first contact with water. So I continue to make these horizontal steps, which are diagonals on the back, because as you can see in Romanian embroidery, which is always worked on the finger, just as I'm doing it now. We do one move to push the needle through, and we come out from one move. I know there are different other types of embroidery in which you push the needle underneath, you do it like this, and then you start to find where to go. But the way Grandma taught me is this way. This is the way we all do it. It's quite fast. And maybe it's a moment to turn it. On the back you see diagonals. If you like it, if you prefer, you can reverse the order. I mean, there's nobody to tell you which one is the front. I prefer it this one to be the front. I mean, you can reverse the whole process, for instance, going on the front like this with a diagonal, going with another diagonal, and now the back is going to be horizontal. So I think this was enough. I will leave the thread here and manage it later, because I need to show you how to make the border as well. This used to be a gold needle. You can see the gold left in the eye of the needle, but somehow my chemistry is So for this I think I better twist the fabric, and I work from left to right. I am right-handed. Let's start also like this. Show you later how to hide the end of the thread. So often I make knots and people ask, are you not afraid they will untie? No, I'm never afraid, and they never did so far. What I'm doing, I'm creating a strong border with angled line, which is more angled than just a half cross stitch. So instead of going on a diagonal from here to here, I count 2 threads, 4 threads, 2 up, and I return on a diagonal. This method ensures that I keep a bigger proportion of the yarn on the top of the fabric, on the exposed, not only visible but exposed to different factors that might damage it, right? So I can show you the back. It's formed of smaller lines. When we are talking efficiency, this is how we make sure the thread is on the exposed part. So you see on the back we have smaller lines, and the fabric is not so well covered as it is on the front, where it is fully covered. So this is one way to maximize the thread, both in terms of aspect but also resistance. I think this is quite easy, you would like it. In Romania we call this stitch șinătău, and it's, in most cases, yes, it's used for borders in the altița, on the shoulder. It is the place where you have the most compact embroidery. But I think it's enough, and we can move further into creating the pattern. I only need to show you how to hide the end, moist the thread a little bit There is no secret wax or anything, it's just saliva. Good old saliva, good for everything. And we take the thread onto the back, and then we pass it underneath the stitches. In one direction, and then jumping over a thread to make sure we don't remove it, we return. And since we are here, and if we pull the thread, we can't take it out because it's kept here, it's retained. So it will thicken the stitch a little bit, but it's not a knot. If you're superstitious, sometimes I have to tell you the story about the bad things might happen if you create knots on the back of the embroidery. It's a superstition about that. So we will take silk yarn now. We need to work with a doubled thread, so I will make a knot now. And let's continue the pattern. Now that these buds are distanced by 6, so if I am to create the bottom for this bud, this is the bottom, I have to distance myself 6 steps from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I know I have to make 8 steps, which are going to be diagonal on the face of the fabric, but straight lines on the back. And I create half of cross stitch. In Romania, we didn't have cross stitches because women prefer to work more efficient with a double thread and one diagonal underneath all of these parallel lines. So we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we are going to continue with this little end here. I'm going to show you how we make one common diagonal for all. I reverse the sense, I make half of cross stitch, one diagonal, I make the other, and because I'm not desperate, I don't pull the thread too much, I can afford to pass with a needle through both of these lines in the same time, and I have one diagonal for all of them. And now I will return to the face of the fabric, and again I have to create 8 points. I use the opposite thumb to control the thread because I'm working with 2 and I need both of them to move equally. So this is why I use also the other hand. You see, this thread is under control until this moment when I release it, when it's safe. I'm sure it's even. So I have 8 points, and now I will make this corner. As you can see, I have diagonals on the front of the fabric and I have straight lines on the back. See, in this case the thread didn't stay equal. Normally I rotate the fabric as I work on it, but I cannot afford to do this during filming, so I keep rotating my fingers. I have 4. Now I will make the vertical. Another 8. And now 8 like this. I keep the same angle for all stitches. To look in order, I will not change the direction. I will rotate the fabric if necessary to make it more comfortable, but I will not change the direction, no way. And here is the last line. And now I still have some yarn left in the needle. I'm going to use it, but first of all I will turn it on the back to fix it before splitting it in two. And as you can see, we have only straight lines on the back and diagonals on the front. So again, the majority of the material, of the precious material, it's visible. It's on the face of the fabric, on the exposed part. Exposed with a sense more than just visible, exposed. Okay, so I fixed the thread exactly like I've showed you, and now I will just cut one because I need a finer thread. I will keep it in the needle and use it simple. From here I will define the edge of the bud. This is one way of doing it if you are a beginner, or if you find it easier to count like this, you can create diagonals on the back and you have the straight lines like a staircase on the front of the fabric. It's not the most efficient way of using the material, but it is efficient in terms of time if you are afraid of not making the count. And now I'm going to show you how it can be done in the other way. To have equal amount of thread on the front and on the back, we create cardo decumanus moves on the fabric. There is no diagonal on the back either. As you can see, I move only on this axis parallel with the threads, and when I am up to the final point, I will return on the opposite direction, and I will have equal pattern on the front and on the back. It's double-faced, let's say. And we can turn the back to see how in this case I have exactly the same pattern on the back and on the front. And now I'm going to say goodbye to this thread. It's too short to use it elsewhere, but I made sure I used the most of it. This is one way to prove that embroidery is not just hobby and feeling and beauty. If you want to be efficient and make the best out of these expensive luxury yarns, I recommend you follow some basic rules for efficiency. So this is the way I've created the underline, the contour. This is the structure, and now let's see, in this place where I have more embroidery, I will rotate again to show you how this border is created. I'm going to use the double yarn again. I have to double the thread. I know that I have to start from here, and remember the other angle stitch. Now I have to do it upwards on diagonal, so I will make 2 points, 4 threads up, move to the left with 2 threads and come out here. I will have a diagonal line, and I continue to go like this. Again, I will have more thread on the top of the fabric and less thread underneath. And I can accelerate because I think it's quite easy. Or shall I do it again? For up to the left, and then out on the top of the fabric, on the face of the fabric. And then, in order to change the angle, because as you can see, we have 3 repetitions, 2 that are going up, 1 is going down, the one in the middle. We have to change the direction. I'm going to do it quickly, just a few more steps. I like this stitch, I like it so much, it is so efficient. And on the back, you see, we only have vertical lines. Obviously, I proved humans can be also efficient, not only the machines, it's humans that invented machines. We're going to do the same principle, only that we move the direction, we make the other diagonal 4 to the right and then return by 2. I love this stitch. It doesn't have exactly a name. It is not feather stitch as known in India, not Brunel as known in Romania. It's like a little fir tree, or sometimes we call it spick. It's like the wheat. So now you see we have only straight lines, therefore smaller lines. The majority of the silk yarn is well used. Plus, changing the direction of the stitch, we create a beautiful visual effect. And now when we hit the bottom, we go again up. Now it's a little bit more difficult to see where to fit the needle, but it's not impossible, and very soon you'll get used with working with such fluffy threads. So vertical lines on the back, angled on the front, making the most of the silk yarn. So I think we're going to have a special video dedicated to how to fill the petals, because I have to show you different ways of doing it. This digital diary makes me hope that somebody will discover it sooner or later and will decide to start making a Romanian blouse. We like the story, we like the idea of embroidering a story with so many connections in history and so many connections with other cultures. And we'll say, yeah, I'm going to start this process. And you grow as a person doing it. It's not just embroidery. You can embroider a simple pattern from the internet, but now you embroider something much more complex. Okay, I'll go underneath and I'm done.